Of the top 6 teams right now, who has the best defence for you? And where does Chelsea rank there as well if they don't have the best, in your opinion?
I think if you go man for man, it's hard to look beyond Manchester City, but I think Liverpool are a really close second, if not on a par. I mean, I really do like their back four. I mean, I think Gomez is a sensational player. He's really adapted and grown as a player in stature. They've got any number of varieties in that position, whether it's Gomez playing at right back, whether he's playing at centre half. You've got Lovren, who is definitely not the best centre half in those three, because you've got Van Dijk, who's exceptional, arguably probably the best central defender at the moment around. Then you look at Manchester City, and I think the point is that they've got so many good players all over the other side of the pitch. The defence isn't under a lot of pressure a lot of the time.
I throw Tottenham into that mix. I mean, when their players are on form, and I would look at it and you go, Trippier, Alderweireld, Vertonghen, possibly Rose, and when they're playing well,
Sanchez?
Yeah, well, that's a very, very strong back four. They lack a little bit else in other areas, perhaps, to really challenge for the title. But and Lloris, again, is having a little bit of a wobble up this season. Before, they've been very, very solid. There isn't a Chelsea of the past, where you had Cahill, Terry, whoever that may be. You'd expect that maybe at Manchester United, but Mourinho hasn't got the players in. So there is no one team that you go, that defence is outstanding, you're not going to score against them. As Mark says, Manchester City's is brilliant, but that's because they dominate the ball so much. Their best form of defence is attack, and actually they don't let the opposition have the ball.
That's right.
And that's why it makes it very difficult to score against
them. That's why
they've
only conceded so few goals. I think it's 4 goals now they've conceded so far this season. Liverpool are very much the same as well, aren't they? I mean, the only thing is Liverpool yesterday were exposed a little bit against Arsenal.
Van Dijk is a real leader though at the moment, and I think he's now starting to show how good he is. And I think obviously with Robertson, Gomez, maybe Trent Alexander, that is a work in progress, and that is getting better and better week in, week out.
Another question, just because you're here and we saw him play, and I think it's fair to give an assessment after about 11 Premier League games, world's most expensive goalkeeper.
You know what, I think Arrizabalaga, I thought today, particularly the one in the second half where he comes out of his 18-yard box, first half, and he does that clearance, in between David Luiz and Rudiger. I was a little bit concerned when he first started to make the movement, but then in the end he was very, very assured, very confident, and he made the right decision. He actually played a really good ball. That was always a big question mark for me about him, is he going to be too deep? Is he going to be a typical Spanish sort of goalkeeper where he stays really deep and doesn't dominate his 18-yard box and is happy for his defenders to do it? And that's not the way Chelsea play. Chelsea are playing even a higher line now with playing in the back four, having the ball as often as they are. When I was here, it was all about, as the goalkeeper, you need to control the space from your 18-yard box between you and your defensive line. So the higher the defensive line is, the greater the distance is.
How different is it, Mark, for... We know there's always a massive adjustment period for outfield players coming into the Premier League because the pace of the game is different. The physicality is a lot different outfield. Is that the same for a goalkeeper? Is that adjustment period as big, or is it slightly smaller because you're so unique?
Yeah, no, I think there's a big adjustment, particularly in the Premier League. We've seen it in the past. Like we saw David De Gea, like you mentioned. He took 18 months to settle into this competition, this league. The physicality side of it. I'm actually surprised that no teams have really put Kepa under a lot of pressure, put high balls in the box, make him come out and try and get him in the mix, give him a bit of physical confrontation. Because in Spain, the minute the goalkeeper gets touched, there's a free kick. Here in England, it's not like that. We know that. In the Premier League, it's robust, it's competitive, it's you've got to make sure, you've got to be strong, you've got to be able to take hits in the box. So I'm surprised at this stage he hasn't been put under that much pressure. But again, that comes down to the fact that Chelsea have a lot of the ball. They don't allow the opposition to have the ball too often.
And Chelsea are on a fantastic run at the moment. Confidence is very, very high. And that plays a part when teams play against you. They're thinking, these teams is on a great run. Can we really attack them? They have the quality that actually, if we don't defend properly, we get exposed. So teams tend to sit back a little bit deeper and don't attack you as much.
Looking at the goalkeepers again, and because you're a former goalkeeper yourself, you look at the top 6 teams, all the keepers can play with the ball at their feet. I mean, Lloris was one of the precursors for that in the Premier League. Obviously, you've got Edison.
Didn't do so well in the World Cup.
He didn't do so well in the World Cup, but he still won the World Cup.
And he hasn't done so well this season.
Yeah, it's funny because you look at Lloris, and actually, if you talk about the top 6, they're probably the one. He's probably the one that stands out as probably being the least comfortable with the ball at his feet now.
Although David De Gea, I don't think is brilliant.
Well, that's the thing. De Gea.
Hang on, are we counting Manchester United's top six?
At this point, at this current time, and we count Bernd Leno as well as starting for Arsenal.
Yeah.
Who's your pick as the top keeper in terms of how the top six teams like to play?
As a defender, first and foremost, you're a goalkeeper. You got the gloves on. Stop the goal going in the back of the net. That's your job. The difference being is that Manchester City play in a completely different way to everybody else. How many goalkeepers can do what Ederson does? Not that many. So, David De Gea, would he be as good at Manchester City? No, he wouldn't. Would Arrizabalaga be as good at Manchester City? No, he wouldn't, because Ederson is unique in that way. Is he the best goalkeeper? Crosses, shot stopper? No. But he fits into Manchester City's system better than any other goalkeeper.
Yeah, the one goalkeeper at the moment in the Premier League that I think would fit into Manchester City seamlessly would be Alisson. You know, he would be able to go from Liverpool into Manchester City side. The question is, I think at the moment, Ederson has proven he can dominate his 18-yard box. He can control that space between him and his back line. He always plays a higher line. He's transition when he gets the ball. If it's a quick pass or it's a long pass.
And he hasn't made many mistakes, has he?
No, he hasn't.
I mean, in terms of handling errors, you know, other goalkeepers have done in the past. We know how good he is with his feet, but he hasn't made those
bread and butter stuff.
Yeah,
the bread and butter.
Suspect errors that you go, oh, we should have saved that one. We haven't seen too many of them from him.
No, absolutely not.
It's quite telling that Ederson is second choice for Brazil. Alisson is first. Would you agree with that?
You know what? We're seeing a better competition, I think, in the two. We're being able to compare the two, like for like, in terms of being in the Premier League. They're both at the top end of the table. Let's just wait and see over the next sort of 3 to 4 months how they align themselves. I mean, Alisson wasn't overly confident yesterday. You know, for me, he has to hold his hand up for the goal that they conceded. And Ederson at the moment has been pretty much faultless, and that's due to the fact that he hasn't been put under a lot of pressure as yet. But he's had also a season in the Premier League under his belt. Last season, I thought it was exceptional. He made that team tick at the back, particularly.
I'm going to ask you again at the end of the season who's been the standout goalkeeper. Okay, just
absolutely
mark my words.